Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the Canadian Construction Association webinar on connected construction, how to digitize project management workflows, presented in partnership with Autodesk Construction Cloud. My name is Kenny Leon with the Canadian Construction Association. My apologies, I do appear as Nicole because my colleague actually holds the corporate account, but this is Kenny with the Canadian Construction Association. Before we begin, just a quick house rule for questions. And of course, we ask that you keep your phone muted all the time, and it's automatically muted right at this point. We ask that you type in the question, which you can ask right throughout the presentation itself. So don't wait till the end. You can still type the questions on the question box on the webinar panel, and we will answer them right at the end. So that we have a decent amount of time to answer those well, but keep the questions coming. Every time you have a question, keep just typing in the question and we will answer them at the end itself. With the ongoing pandemic, we are witnessing an enormous shift in construction tech, especially towards a digital first workflow, of course, for all the benefits on digitization. To discuss this and more on the call today, on this live webinar, actually, we have our expert panel, Philippe Guise, Manager BIM Corporate Services at EBC Construction, and of course, Scott Carlson, Customer Success Manager at Autodesk Construction Cloud. And I will hand it over to Scott just to do a little bit of a more of a introduction. Over to you, Scott.
Thanks. Hey everyone, my name is Scott Carlson. I am a Customer Success Manager at Autodesk in the Northeast region. I focus on driving a deeper adoption of Autodesk products, helping our construction customers receive measurable outcomes. I come from a design and construction background in several capacities within the industry and have held a variety of positions from pre-construction, site construction, and turnover. And I'll hand it off to Phil to introduce himself.
So hi everybody, thanks for joining in. Philippe Guise. So I'm working for EBC, who's one of the leading general contractor across Canada. As the manager for the BIM Corporate Services, we really focus on making sure that within the company, we not only adopt the best tools of the trades to support our ongoing projects for construction, but also make sure that we develop partnerships such as the one that we have with Autodesk, in making sure that not only do we use the platform, but we use it in the best way possible.
All right, thanks for that, Phil. So we're going to dive in and just get started. So no matter the size of a company's, the scope of projects you're on, one thing contractors of all sizes try to solve for is a more creative way to give more insight into predictability on their projects. Many contractors have turned to technology to not only provide them a way to digitally manage their processes, but also utilize the data generated from that technology to gain deeper insights into project performance. And they do this to maintain and keep a competitive edge. So just a little bit of a background of Autodesk Construction Cloud. It combines next-gen technology, a robust network of professionals and firms, and powerful insights together. With Assemble, BIM 360, Building Connected, and PlanGrid, we now support workflows spanning all phases of construction, from design to planning to building to operations. Coupled with the Autodesk design and authoring tools such as AutoCAD, Revit, Navisworks, only Autodesk can deliver a full portfolio that the entire ecosystem from start to finish. So in fact, annually we see over 1.5 million active users on the Autodesk Construction Cloud platform who have migrated their workflows and projects to our digital solutions globally. It's a big, big number. The industry is changing fast. So it's not just what we're seeing. The media is also reporting on this as well and highlighting how contractors are taking full advantage of their construction technology investment and utilizing that information from these tools to prevent risks on their job. You know, for example, COVID. You know, COVID happened, COVID-19, and in less than 24 hours, we had to dramatically shift the way we do business and the way that we work. We've seen that COVID is hyper-regionalized. Some provinces in Canada were hit harder than others. Stricter guidelines, construction sites shut down in Quebec and Ontario. Meanwhile, in British Columbia, Alberta, Manitoba, and Saskatchewan all taken a similar approach in not shutting down construction sites, addressing social distancing and hygiene. I think construction work move forward as much as possible. However, we do know that supply chain and labor demands impacts are coming, and they've already begun to be felt. Even if your project didn't stop, the industry as a whole was seriously impacted, and I'm sure many of you can attest to that. So we still don't really know how that supply chain will be impacted. It's an unknown to us and an unknown to the industry. But again, we see an industry of great resilience. Construction in Canada and in the US is going to come back. It already is too. We see that COVID is a rapid movement to the cloud, with usage of products such as BIM 360 design up 350% globally since working conditions shifted from office to a home-based environment in February. What this means is that Autodesk is evolving too. We continue to meet our customers' needs. The industry is resilient and will continue to work with you to ensure that your desired project outcomes while reducing that risk will come to fruition. But why now? So why technology? Construction is one of the most collaborative yet fragmented industries, and it has been for quite some time. So technology, specifically cloud technologies, are moving fragmentation and enabling collaboration across project teams. That's our goal here at Autodesk. So traditionally, asset tracking throughout design and construction has been handled in spreadsheets and based on trusting the goodwill of vendors and partners. This approach can create gaps between what's expected in the office and what happens in the field. Construction asset data is often lost, duplicated, or corrupted, and disputes can arise when records don't match reality. We see an ongoing demand and increase for assets due to this. For leading Canadian-based construction firm EBC, this approach was completely unacceptable. And to tell us more about how it was unacceptable to EBC and how they implemented and invested in technology to drive innovation, I'm going to turn the presentation over to Philippe de Guise, the manager of BIM Coordination Services.
Thanks, Scott. As a general contractor, EBC focuses on creating value on large-scale ambitious projects through collaboration and innovation across the building, mining, and infrastructure sectors. Our culture is steeped in safety, expertise, teamwork, and integrity, and we quest for continual improvement and growth through technology and collaborative relationship, such as the one as we have with Autodesk. As a matter of fact, EBC strives to also achieve collaboration on its various construction projects. This is why it was so natural to adopt and use Autodesk Construction Cloud, specifically BIM 360, for construction data management to create these collaborative virtual environments where every member of a project team can access the right information at the right time, creating this single source of truth for all stakeholders involved on our numerous projects. Having successfully deployed a centralized collaboration platform on all of our construction projects significantly simplified the adaptation of EBC's asset management process to further reduce project risk and improve project outcomes by connecting asset tracking and management from end to end throughout the project lifecycle. By continually tracking and managing assets and equipment in the platform, we can anticipate any issues that will arise during the project so that we're successful in collaborating and supporting the information that will be flowing between the various stakeholders on a project. For example, on the University of Montreal's Mills Campus project, we use BIM 360 to track room delivery status. So depending on if a room was under construction, ready for inspection, inspected or delivered, rooms were actually color-coded on a floor layout, which made it simple for the project management team to track the evolution of the job site and adequately dispatch the right resources whenever needed. Because it's all integrated, we can directly link our procurement workflows to assets tracking, thus allowing for a better forecast and improved workers deployment on the job site. We can easily see when specific equipment is planned for installation, so we can schedule the right amount of people to be on the job site to manage deliveries safely and ensure that it will remain on the schedule. Knowing when parts and equipment will be delivered leads to better planning. That's a no-brainer. The minute that you have access to a tool that helps you do that, your project logistics teams wants to get their hands on it. The concept of asset includes workforce, as well as equipment, supplies, materials, and components. EBC owns and manages a large fleet of heavy equipment, trucks, loaders, dozers, excavators, so on and so forth. And we employ substantial manpower in addition to that often provided by partners and vendors. We're now able to plan the use of owned and managed assets across multiple simultaneous projects to ensure the equipment is available on each job site when it is needed. This insight into these types of assets reduces project risks and decreases loss of equipment. Even with the best solutions, peoples and workflows, disruptions and delays are almost inevitable, especially on large, complex, and ambitious construction projects. We can pivot quickly around delays caused by vendors, global disruptions, and unplanned events because of the use of asset management. The visibility and transparency provided by the asset tracking tools means that all project stakeholders can be involved in real-time decision-making in response to delayed materials and shipments, leading to more trust, collaboration, and ultimately better outcomes. When we've got assets of any types, whether it be parts, equipment, or subs that are not showing up at the job site on the expected date, we can just turn around and look at our other options and get them on site ASAP. The fact that all asset and equipment tracking takes place digitally and in a transparent and collaborative environment means that there is a clean, clear documentation trail that anyone can access and understand. As a result, fewer disputes concerning assets delivery arise, and for those that may make it to litigation, the documentation makes it simple for a favorable outcome. Keeping track of all of our assets also includes keeping an eye out on our vendors and subcontractors' performances. As part of the Autodesk Construction Cloud suite, Building Connected is the ideal tool to know more on these early on during the pre-con phase. Should a vendor frequently delay shipments or a subcontractor fails to show up with proper resources regularly, it becomes clear in the data on who to hire in the future and make recommendations in that sense. When project partners can see how much things cost, that creates a huge level of trust. This is achieved by combining the power of assets tracking with the capability to track their cost per unit directly within the BIM 360 cost module. It provides transparency and enables clear discussions around the cost of materials, labors, and the reason for any timeline disruptions. This transparency leads to better relation and better project delivery outcomes. Recently, we've started to use QR codes to keep track of the movement of people, equipment, and materials around the job site and beyond. Remember earlier I mentioned the mill project? QR codes were the key to our success. We've used these to tag each rooms that were to be delivered. The project being so huge and with each room serving a different purpose, specifically in the labs area, the QR codes were key to tracking the status of a room. Whenever we had folks coming into the room to execute any type of tasks, they simply scanned the barcodes, set the status based on what they were doing, and voila, we now have a single source of truth for that as well. Such a use of QR codes can also be leveraged to reduce risk and improve safety by helping safety officers keep track of people's movement around the job site in relation to the presence of machinery and other equipment. By managing construction asset, it becomes easier to quickly and flexibly respond to owners' change requests, RFIs, and issues. Knowing where materials are and what else would be needed in the event of a change enables faster quoting and response to change requests. The same is true for responding to RFIs and addressing issues as they arise. The ability to track and manage assets and equipment from design through construction primes us for project handover. With a platform that simplifies information sharing, owners can easily access project data from for the long-term management of an asset. This new method of reporting not only creates greater trust between EBC and owners, but with our subcontractors and vendors as well, leading to more business. Partnering with companies such as Autodesk allows EBC to stay amongst the top general contractors in Canada. Such technology partnership helps a company to stay tuned in the best tools of the trades the BIM market has to offer while being able to access and provide feedback to the Autodesk developers on the potential evolutions of the platform. On this journey, Scott has been a great support and one of the reasons why our relationship with Autodesk has been thriving. In these times of uncertainties, I'm proud to say that we've been ahead of the pack and that the COVID-19 situation has had less impact on our business due to our early adoption of cloud technologies such as BIM 360 and the numerous versatile tools and modules it has to offer. And now back to you, Scott. That's pretty much it.
Thank you. That was great, Phil. So let's back up here and let's talk about a little bit of our history with EBC and Autodesk.
Yep.
And do our fireside chat here. So I've been working with Phil and EBC for pretty much the entire time I've been at Autodesk, roughly 10 months. And I just want to ask you, Phil, why did EBC from the start, even a long-standing customer, why did you guys feel the need to invest in construction technology as well as a partner, and what issues or gaps in that process were you trying to solve?
Well, actually, EBC's culture is all about developing strong and long-lasting relationship. So moving with companies such as Autodesk is something that's somewhat natural. And amongst all the tools that are available on the market, I have to admit that BIM 360 offers the widest variety of tool. So not only can you just go and bid on a job, but you can actually deliver that job and even take it all the way and hand it over to the owner for operations later on using only the Autodesk suites. So whether it be part of the Autodesk Construction Cloud or even the Autodesk AEC collection tools for design and engineering, all the tools are there. And they're so versatile that you can actually benefit out of these multiple tools in any given type of projects that you can be faced with. Now with that, I mean, EBC's been aiming to stay amongst the best companies within Canada for construction delivery. And I think that part of that journey is not only having the best team that are actually delivering the job, but also providing them with the best tools. There's, it's no surprise that we're actually owning our own fleet of equipment. We have the best equipment that's available to actually be deployed on a job site and actually support the delivery of the project. Same goes with technologies. I mean, nowadays we have onboard technologies on these equipment that actually allows us to track where they're going, what they're doing, and even assist the operator in performing tasks such as excavation work. And when you talk about those type of technologies, you actually need to link it to something, and that something is anything that BIM has to offer. And Autodesk, for as far as I can remember, has been ahead of the pack when it comes down to BIM. All the BIM technologies, the BIM practices that have been developed and that have been, number one on the market have always come out of the Autodesk developers team. So I mean that's why we've aimed, and we've actually developed that partnership with Autodesk, and we invest so much in those partnerships.
I'm happy to hear it. So let's go over the history of when you guys when EBC was first a customer. I mean, when you said it was a natural process, I'm assuming that because you already tied into our design products, right? Revit, AutoCAD, and when we set up BIM 360, it was just natural progression because it all tied together.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about when EBC first came as a customer. You know, what did that look like when you were first just using Revit? You weren't really integrating document management, any project management workflows. What were those challenges, and you know how much changed when you started implementing BIM 360 once it was created?
Well, as with any new technology adoption, it's a journey. So when we actually embarked on this journey, we were faced with a lot of people that were against change. So they don't want to see change. It's been working all along. Why change it? If it ain't broken, don't fix it, as the saying goes. So that's pretty much what we were faced with. And actually, when they've realized that using tools such as Revit or AutoCAD or even Civil 3D, they could actually benefit out of data extraction out of there. They could actually support whatever estimation work they were doing. They just went, oh, that's nice. I didn't know I could do that. And that's how the revolution started. You know, bits and pieces here and there. People saw small wins in their day-to-day work. And that's how the momentum got building, which led eventually to, okay, well, we've got tools. We can actually take whatever information is provided by the engineering firm and make it our own. So how can we actually leverage that to bring it to the job site now? And looking at the various technologies back then, well, BIM 360 was on the rise. It was the old gen back then. And it was designed for field work. So they just went, well, okay, that's job site oriented. That's what we want. And, you know, as a general contractor, that was really our goal ultimately, to have a tool that could bring the office data to the job site. And that's pretty much why we went for BIM 360. As with everything, yeah, there was a bit of reaction to the change and the adoption of new technology. Oh, we don't have time for that. And you know, people just went and, okay, well, we can now collaborate. And oh, we can bring the customer around the table to discuss. And oh, it simplifies our way of talking to the various stakeholders on a project. So that collaborative aspect ultimately brought the adoption, or sped up the adoption of BIM 360 all in all.
That's great. Yeah, I'd imagine there's quite the transformation from just design to now implementing anything office-based, document control, project management. Probably reduced a lot of duplications of files and work.
Yeah.
And you know, better communication, right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
What was the turning point? I mean, was there a specific turning point within EBC where, you know, everybody was tapping out, like, we got to find something else, we need a different solution, or was it more just trying every new piece of technology automatically?
Well, I have to admit that the biggest challenge that we were faced with is actually trying to figure out how to use and leverage these technologies within the civil and heavy civil work. So whenever you come down to talking about a powerhouse or roadworks or such, it's kind of complicated to actually have people adopt a solution or a set of tools that are predominantly built for building construction. So there was a lot of discussions around that. You know, within building, it was pretty straightforward. I mean, the market demanded it, so they just went ahead for it, and that's it. So there were no further questions down the road that were actually asked as if whether or not the decision was the right one. It was the right one from the get-go. But within civil, there was a lot of questioning. So is BIM 360 really the one that we want? You know, when it comes down to building vertical project, that's a thing. But roads and you know, most of the civil work is longitudinal, so it's harder for them to be able to just synchronize all the work. And plus, back then, Civil 3D was not integrated within BIM 360. So, hey, what's the gain? What's in it for me? Was roughly the question. And now with the latest evolution that came down the road, the requirements, within the construction field, everything needs to be driven by a key factor. And these key factors, asset management is a key one. I mean, loss of equipment, loss of parts, loss of components on a job site is something that's costing a lot of money to the general contractors and the subs. So they want something to be able to track delivery of equipment, delivery of parts, where their tools are ultimately. So that's something that brought the civil team back to the table. And plus the fact of the matter that you want to keep a close eye out over the cost of the project all in all. I mean, the late release of the cost module. So it happened earlier this year, if I remember well. I mean, that was a game changer as well. So that actually brought them back on the table and said, well, okay, we've looked at other solution, but even though, BIM 360 might not be perfect on all aspects, it's the one that's offering us the most versatile and widespread variety of tools to better serve our project. So everybody just came to a consensus and said, let's go full speed ahead with BIM 360.
I love it. I mean, it's so important to know where your actual costs are. You bring up costs and assets, and they do tie together. Your assets, mainly equipment, are very costly, right? If you don't know your actual cost, that's already just you're set up for a disaster. I've been on construction sites. I've been there, I've done that, and I've seen some not so friendly meetings where people don't know what they're spending. How can you be profitable if you don't know that? And that's what we're trying to close. We're trying to close that gap with the unknown. So everyone's on the same page, everyone's communicating in one spot, and all the information is live. And it's not outdated. You don't have an old Excel sheet. So yeah, that is what we're here for. That is what Autodesk Construction Cloud strives to be and will continue to strive. I wanted to touch a bit on assets. You brought it up twice. So how did you used to track assets, and how do you do it now? What was the pivotal change, and what were the benefits?
Well, actually, asset tracking was pretty much on a best effort basis. So everybody had their own ways of tracking assets. So whether it be an Excel spreadsheet or any other means, I mean, there are teams that have actually built an access database to track all their equipments and their assets. If I remember, the team that's actually managing all of our heavy equipment is using an access database to track their asset. Well, was using an access database to do that. And the revolution was to obtain that centralized, unique source of information. As with anything and any platform, when you want to standardize your practices, you want to streamline the flow of information that's going on. So, and the more format you have, the more potential source of information you have, and the more human errors you can have. So when you're duplicating information source, when you're duplicating information by itself, you're in for a lot of trouble down the line. Might be not short term, but eventually it'll come and bite you. So you want to avoid that, and having a unique platform such as BIM 360 really was a game changer in itself to be able to create that single source of truth that I've been talking about earlier.
Certainly, yeah, that's very true. Were there any other pivotal points where you noticed the adoption of our products were just added some positive outcomes?
Well, when we actually adopted Assemble back in the days, that was before my era even, but that was a big game changer. Having the possibility of early on, because Assemble is pretty much used within EBC during the pre-con phase. So having a capability of actually working and collaborating with people on a potential consortium or a potential project team was really something that was appealing to EBC. and which simplified, again, a great deal the way that we were communicating with the folks out there. Plus the fact of the matter that you can use the information straight off out of Assemble and then use it for the better good or the greater good of the estimation effort that's going on. That was also a big game changer within EBC.
Right, and that's just as important as actual costs, right? I mean, you need to know what your predicted costs are going to be to actually attain that job for the right price, and then you need to be able to track it to know where you are. So that's
Exactly.
what Assemble's very good at.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So we're at in the process of implementing BIM 360 specifically, what department and what modules really took off first? I mean, where did you see the growth first, the major growth?
I was actually in with BIM 360 Docs back in the days. Definitely, we were in dire needs of having a unified electronic document management system, and that was really interesting to be able to use that information. So, that was really what kicked off things in adopting BIM 360, and having the capability of actually sharing that to the field was also something that was very appealing back then. So those were the two main factors that add us up into the BIM 360 train back in the days.
Awesome. And what was a pivotal point between jobs with that they used BIM 360 and ones that didn't? Did you notice a big difference between ones that used BIM 360 and ones that did not?
Well, in regards to the collaboration, that was really the element that was a big difference, a big gap between the projects. You know, it was harder to work with the subs and create that unified way of working when having people that were actually outside of the platform. You know, every project across Canada nowadays still uses the white room, as we call them. So you've got printed set of plans, and people just go and refer to them to get these the latest updated information. But then again, that latest updated information is only as good as whoever is going to be printing the jobs, the sheets, and updating the sheet sets that you're going to have in these white rooms. So definitely having more and more people on the platform nowadays, you know, on our job site, everybody's got one of these. So they can access BIM 360 directly from their iPads. Just go check out whatever the latest information is. They don't have to walk back to the trailer, check out whatever the new plans are. So that was really when the adoption rocketed in regards to using BIM 360 for doc sharing and making sure that all the tasks that were going on the job site were synchronized with each teams or each subs that were making them.
Certainly, that's huge. I mean, version control, you know, is just one aspect. Making sure you're working on the right version. We all know on site, who has the latest plans is kind of a joke. It's an ongoing joke that one person might. By the time you get your plans, you're already throwing them in the trash because you already got another set that's updated. So that world is all too real and known between you and I, and probably everyone on this call. I remember I actually did a cost analysis or a time analysis, which resulted in a cost analysis. The last construction company I worked with, and it was to see the impact and the labor hours we spent on people going back and forth to the job trailer to reference the plans, and it was astounding. I mean, it was so much wasted time. And I did this because I was trying to convince the CEO to adopt BIM and just adopt more technology, and it was trying to, you know, make an argument essentially that we'd actually be saving money, and there's a lot of hidden costs that you don't see. You're putting upfront money in the technology, but you don't realize the labor hours are spending on, or the money on a set of plans could be, you know, $7,000. It's a lot. It's ludicrous.
No, it's so ingrained in our culture not to see costs. Hey, we've been doing it that way, so, and it's been working. Why change? I mean, that's something that we can manage. We've got a firm grip on, and we can make sure that, we can actually control whatever costs and spendings are going to be happening due to that. When you're trying to change that, you need to bring to the table the fact that it's not financial gains that you're going to have, it's cost avoidance. You're going to avoid these costs if you adopt these solutions, these practices, so on and so forth. So, and you talked about just people that are going to the trailer to see the plans, but the amount of money that's spent in printing sheets. I mean, an A1 printout, that's a lot of money. And thinking about the person that's actually going to go, I mean, the project manager's assistant is actually the one that's printing out and updating the data sheets. And whenever they're going in, I mean, it's an hour a day that most of the people, between an hour and a half a day that these people are spending just updating the plans. That's all. I mean, that's an hour and a half that she could have been doing something else that's more beneficial. And that, the latest one that I saw was actually wearing gloves constantly because she got so many paper cuts on her fingers that she wanted to avoid that at all costs. So, and going paperless is our next big step, I think.
Yeah, definitely. There's gonna be some pretty big paper cuts off drawings too. It's not normal paper.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's just so many areas where you can save costs. I mean, how many times have you seen a superintendent transferring his markups to the new plans, spending half the day every week just remarking up everything because that's his set and he doesn't want to work off an old set. I mean, right there, it's a perfect example of what not to do, right?
Yeah.
We can solve that problem with our product by version control, and the markups carry over. Yeah, I love it. I'm super passionate about it because I came from the industry and I had to learn how to hand draw first. So they're still teaching that, unfortunately. I wanted to talk about a specific project now. I mean, we talked a lot about the functionality of what our products can bring to the table within your company. So I touched a little bit on what was the difference in a project that had used BIM 360 and one that did not. Let's talk about one that did, the very first one. I wanted to just ask you a bit about the University of Montreal. That was the first project that fully implemented BIM 360, right?
Well, it actually was the first one that you really benefited out of the asset management capabilities out of BIM 360, because it's been almost 7 years now since we've been using wall-to-wall BIM 360, and it's been roughly, I'd say, like a year or so that we can say that 100% or close to 100% of our projects are in BIM 360. So definitely the University of Montreal was not the first one, but it was really the first one that leveraged all the capabilities out of the new or the latest iteration of BIM 360, what's called the new gen nowadays. So so that was I think it was pretty interesting on the journey to actually see a project of this magnitude be using the new iteration or the new generation of BIM 360. And I have to admit that the project manager on this project was he's an experienced man, and I've got a lot of respect for him. And he actually saw the gain in using such a tool, and he said, "Well, let's just go full steam ahead, use it. Well, we'll make the best of it. We're willing to make the investment," or he was insightful enough to give the leeway to his team to actually be using and leveraging the technology such as they did. So that was pretty interesting on all of this journey to see that we had a lot of people that were so open-minded with an EBC to make that move and say, let's go ahead and do it.
It sounds like you had somebody specific in mind. It sounds like they notice it makes their job and their life much easier, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. And that gentleman that I was talking about is the one that actually just went ahead and said, well, let's color code the room. Let's do it. And they did, and it was by itself, it was a revolution. I mean, just his office on a job site had an entire wall that was actually paved with printouts, and where every day he was, he's the kind of guy that still likes paper. He likes the feel of paper. So there was a lot of paper that were printed out, but every day he would print out, it was eight and a half and by 11 sheets, but still it was something that he could stand up, look at, and said, okay, I need to address that, and that today. So within 5 minutes, in a glance, he knew exactly what needed to be done. And that was very interesting in the way it was used in the approach he's adopted.
I was in a similar situation on site, and I was always the tech savvy person on site because I saw it made my life easier, and that's kind of how I came to Autodesk and came to work for them. And the dream come true. I still get to be part of the building world. I get to see this massive transformation in the industry. It's just such a pivotal time for construction, and customers and construction companies are starting to realize that there's all this hidden costs. What were those on the Montreal University of Montreal project? Like, what were the major differentiators on that project? Did you notice any major ones?
It went choppy there. So what were the key differentiators on the University of Montreal project?
Yeah. Just comparing it to a similar project that wasn't using BIM 360. What were just the key successes there?
Once again, I'll bring it back to collaboration. I mean, the fact of the matter that everybody could access that single source of truth in the nick of time, be able to, easily access all of the RFIs, the issues, the daily logs, so on and so forth, was really key elements that differentiated this project from the other. Definitely.
Okay, great. And what are those new, what are those new workflows, processes really look like? Did they change a lot on that project? For what
no, I'd say it's, as with anything, it's a slow, ongoing, evolutive project or initiative by itself to update and adapt the processes and workflows to all of the projects. With people such as the amazing project team that we've had on the middle project, I think you only need to have people that are open-minded enough to adapt and evolve according to whatever the project is demanding from them. So it's how can I put it? Yeah, it's open-mindedness. I mean, that
right.
will to evolve and not be stuck in concrete boots and not move ahead. I mean, you want to be able to just be that, way, adapt to the waves that will come crashing, more or less. And that's, it has nothing to do with the technology or with the processes. It has to do with the EBC culture and the way that people think within the company. So, we got to win out of applying that or going down that route with regards to a certain practice. Okay, well, let's make sure that it's properly documented and that we do evolve or learn from that for future project.
Right. Yeah. And so how did you exactly did you have to really force people on that project to use this? Like, how did you have a lot of just BIM 360 advocates? Was it I know it was a natural progression for EBC as a whole, but this project, specifically the University of Montreal, what did that adoption look like? Did it just kind of spider web on its own?
Well, we definitely have people that are spearheading the use of BIM 360 on these type of projects. We do have, let's call them evangelists that just go there and spread the word. BIM 360 is the way to go. But I think that first and foremost, it's something that needs to start, at the very beginning of any project. Whenever you're going to sit down with the customer, whenever you're going to sit down with potential partners and subs, You just need to speak frankly about it and say, hey, we're using BIM 360 and we're expecting you guys to use it because we see a lot of good in it. And in most cases, University of Montreal, the science center that we put together, I mean, that's a research center. That's where our future researchers are going to go and study. And so, they're all for improvement and adoption of new ways of working and making sure that it's bringing us as a company, as a society onward rather than holding us back. So when we spoke about that, I think that there was a will also from the customer side to say, well, let's do it, let's try it out, let's give it a shot. So definitely there was a lot of work that was done ahead of time before the first dig ever started on the job site.
Love it. So after University of Montreal, how did that impact other future projects? I mean, since that was the first one to really fully implement all the features and modules, what did that look like? Did that really set the standard?
Well, it somewhat set the standard. It also created that, it increased the momentum that was already going in moving onward and adopting the new platform. Nowadays, out of the numerous projects that we have, I think we only have 2 left that are still on the old gen platform. Whenever possible, we've actually migrated projects on the new generation, and we made sure that all new projects were started on the new generation of the platform so that we could actually leverage and benefits out of the great tools that are made available nowadays in the next gen.
Great. So, with all of that being said, what advice would you give to others that are trying to move to a digital environment who are still stuck on paper?
Well, make sure that you pick the right partner. I mean, as with anything, I've said it before, I'll keep on saying it. I mean, partnership is the key to any success, whether it be on the construction or in the information technology field. I mean, you need to be able to rely on strong and reliable partner that actually will be there to not only do a quick sale, but also act as a partner, be there to support you, walk you through, and help you out in actually adopting the solutions. I think that companies that are mature, as with Autodesk, do offer these type of services, and it's only a matter of asking, hey, I want to develop that partnership. I want to work with you guys. Is it something that's feasible? There's a lot of companies that will pretend that they're able to do it. A few of them will actually be delivering. So I think that it's only a matter of doing proper investigative work before going ahead and saying, oh, we're going to go ahead and buy that instead of that. I think that, out there are a lot of platforms that are available again. So make sure that you do perform your homeworks properly before going down a route or another. I mean, use Excel for that case, pros and cons. I mean, I've got 4 platforms that I'm considering with various vendors, and part of the various criteria that you'll be looking into is that vendor's reliability. And, there's certainly the cost of the platform and the potential use of the platform, but how widespread can you actually use the platform throughout the entire life cycle of whatever you're delivering? Whether you're in manufacturing, whether you're in construction, whether you're in any type of field, ultimately, you don't want to be constantly recreating the wheel at all time. You want that platform that you can leverage and standardize on so that that learning curve for any new employee that will be coming on board or any new partner that you'll be working with will be shorter and shorter as time goes by. And that's why, we're really aiming and striving to build those partnerships and also make sure that, we don't have like 10,000 applications that are being used on our projects whenever we're driving them. So we've got BIM 360. We're going full speed ahead with BIM 360 as it is. We don't have any of the competitions platform as we stand unless it's being imposed by our customers. Because naturally, I mean, if the customers already have that platform, we'll just go ahead and work in it. But whenever we can, we're using our tools and in that case, it's BIM 360. And naturally, strictly from an IT standpoint, nowadays, I think that cloud is inevitable. So definitely, if you do have access to a cloud platform, I think that's something that's really to be considered as a plus nowadays. I mean, I've heard a lot of companies just saying, well, data is being hosted in the United States, Patriot Act this and that, and I mean, I don't expect anybody to just go and steal your stuff. I mean, you're still owning your stuff. It's only that they're willing to just go into it if they want to. But hey, you can ask. There's a lot of company that nowadays are offering hosting services that are in a specific geographical area. So I think Amazon Web Services is actually owning infrastructure that are in Canada, in the United States, and in Europe. So if you want your data to be specifically in an area, certainly you can come to an agreement with them. And same goes with any other cloud-based platform. You can ask. I mean, as with anything, talk to the people, ask them, meet them, ask for demo. I mean, it's something that could easily be executed, and that'll give you more insight as to what can be achieved, what you can do, and what type of needs that you have that can be filled in by any of these platforms or any of these solutions.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you hit the nail on the head there, that Autodesk, it's not just a software company, right? We are a partnership. We make a better product based off of our customer feedback. So it goes both ways. It's a round trip. It's a strong relationship we try to have with every and each customer on every project they have. We want them to use it to its fullest extent, and we want to hear the mistakes that were made, or the gaps that we still have to fill, or the alterations we need to make it work and standardize the industry. And that is our goal. Yeah, so with that said, if anyone has any questions, I'm going to move this on to a Q&A. I don't see any yet, but I'll give it a couple minutes, give it a minute or two here, and see if anybody's got a question. Doesn't look like any. So with that said, in the end, what we're trying to say here is that there is no end date to our technology transformation. It's ever changing. It's technology that is not just allowing us to do things faster, easier, but also gives us valuable information that allows us to better understand what we're working on, and what our projects, what we're working on within our projects. If the information that's there allows us to learn from each project, right? Phil and I have stated that again and again in many different ways. It's also going to make incremental changes, and it'll create more predictability across the organization. So that, in a nutshell, is what we're trying to do here at Autodesk. At this time, I'd like to just thank everyone for coming. This has been awesome. Phil, EBC, is actually my customer. I work with him all the time. It was a pleasure to do this with him and to collaborate with the Canadian Construction Association. I also just want to throw this in here. I would recommend signing up for our Autodesk blog here. I think good resource where a lot of users talk about pretty much what I mentioned before. Any feedback we want to receive or do receive from people, good, bad, whatever it is. It's a channel where many customers can talk about something they want, and we do monitor it closely, and we actually look, our product team does look at this for suggestions to better the product and add upcoming features or alter in any way.
On behalf of Canadian Construction Association, thank you very much, Scott and Phil, and of course to the team at Autodesk Computing Cloud. Actually, thank you for your ongoing support. We hope this webinar was useful and relevant. And of course, on the relevancy part, as we began this, there's never been a far more better time to automate and bring in construction technology on board. So thank you once again for joining us. We will have the recording of this webinar sent to you shortly. Thank you and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks.
Thanks.